Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Let me start off by saying I was supposed to get this video recorded yesterday, and I didn't because of some personal stuff that was going on. Those of you who happen to be Facebook friends are already aware. I lost my brother sometime between Saturday night and Sunday morning. We're not 100% sure what happened, but we are pretty sure that it was his sleep apnea that got him. He was at a friend's house, and he fell asleep, and he was slumped forward, and his friend nudged him to get him to lay back, and he was blue. They, of course, called the paramedics and worked on CPR until the paramedics got there, and the paramedics worked on him for about half an hour, and it was too late. So, because of that, I did not record yesterday because I spent most of the day crying. I'm sure that is still very visible on my face. So, I apologize for the fact that my eyes are red and puffy and my face is not its best right now. But life has to go on for those of us who are still living. So I'm here today to do the video that I was supposed to do yesterday. And that video is in part to celebrate the victory of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as President and Vice President-elect, respectively. So that's a positive, and that's what we're going to focus on, is the positive today. Right now, we are at least somewhat in celebration mode because of that. We have a lot of work to do before things are even close to acceptable in society for everyone. But we'll move on from where we are and keep going forward. Also today, most of the products I will be using is things that I've never used before. I went through some of my mom's Ipsy to find a collection of products that I could use as much of one brand as possible to do a first impressions type video with this Get Ready With Me. And for that, we are going to be using a collection of Lovecraft Beauty products. We've got an eyeshadow palette, a highlighter palette that's currently still in its sleeve. We have a blush palette, and there is also a bronzer palette that we will be using from Lovecraft Beauty. Also today, through a Facebook sample, I got a NARS lip product. I have never used anything from NARS before, so this is also a first impressions type video, including this. Primary products that are going to be used that I have used before is my primer, which is the Tarte Quench Hydrating Primer, which also came from my mom's Ipsy. I swiped it from her. The Boying Cakeless Concealer from Benefit, which has made multiple appearances on these videos. And my CoverGirl foundation. Now, this looks a little dark in the bottle, and it is somewhat dark for me. It's not really that it's dark for me, it's just that it is a more yellow tone. But finding a pinker tone foundation has become almost impossible here lately. So I go with what I can get, and I make it work to the best of my ability. So that's pretty much the products I'll be using. I have not pulled out the eyeliner and foundation or mascara that I will be using, but those will most likely be Tarte products as well, because those are the ones I reach for most often. So let's go ahead and start with the primer. I've already done my skincare prep with my moisturizer and my eye cream and all of that before I started recording so that it would have time to soak into the skin. The moisturizer is a Tarte H2O Hydration Moisturizer and a Murad eye cream that I use. So we're getting into the primer now, and we're just going to apply that to the face. And I like to lay my primer down first and foremost because that allows it time to soak into my skin. and everything before I move on to the next steps. Now, like I said, right now my family is kind of struggling. We're going to have my brother cremated. I've got a fundraiser up on Facebook, and I will probably go ahead and share the link to that down in either the description box or the comments for this video for anyone who just wants to donate to us being able to pay for his cremation and all of that. And I appreciate all your thoughts, all your kind words, any donations that you might be able to make. It's all greatly appreciated, but I do not want any of you to feel obligated to do that. Also, I need to point out that while, yes, I am using almost exclusively one brand for my products today, this is not a sponsored video. I do not currently have any sponsors. I'm hoping to at some point, especially now that I'm starting to get some brands recognizing my work on my Instagram posts when I tag brands that I've used in my makeup. Okay, so I'm just taking a single pump of my foundation. This is in L3 Golden Ivory, or L30 Golden Ivory, my bad. I just take a tiny pump of that on the back of my hand, and I'm using a dry blending sponge. It's kind of gross, but that's just because it stains from the foundation. And I'm just going to start by tapping some of this on to the face. I will blend this out after I get it generally applied. Okay, now then, we've pretty much got it applied. Now we blend it out all over the face. Of course, if you prefer to use a wet blender, that's fine. Most companies actually recommend using the blenders wet. I just feel like I get better coverage if I use it dry. It's a personal preference on my part. Make sure that into the creases of the nose, and the space between the nose and the lip, and down here on the chin. And yeah, I know I make weird faces when I'm applying my foundation, but it just ensures that it gets into all my little creases and wrinkles. I'm really kind of at a loss of what to say right now because my brain is somewhat fried. I don't really want to think about my brother a whole lot right now because it hurts to think about the fact that he was gone at such a young age. He's 6 years older than me, and I'm 35, so that makes him 41. He had just turned 41 last month, but he was a good man. He played guitar. He was completely self-taught. He couldn't read a lick of music. He lived his life to the fullest. He had great friends. He loved to go to concerts. Just putting some of my stuff back in my containers where I keep everything organized. Now I'm going in with my concealer, and I'm focusing that primarily on my inner corners because right now they're pretty rough. Just take this end of my blender and kind of blend that in and out to the outer corner. And like I said, my brother lived his life to the fullest. I don't want to say he wasn't afraid of anything, because he did have fears, but they were logical fears. He didn't back down from a challenge. Like I said, he taught himself how to play guitar without ever being able to read any music. He played in combination by ear and by watching videos of other guitarists performing their music and how they placed their fingers and all of that. But he was a good brother. We fought like siblings do. Sometimes we'd go months, years without speaking to each other. But the moment one of us needed the other, we were right there for each other. And it's going to be hard to think about the fact that I don't have my brother anymore, just to call on him when I need him. So, yeah. And I didn't want this to be a downer type video. I wanted this to be an uplifting, celebratory video about the Democratic campaign being successful in the election. But, of course, yesterday's news kind of overshadowed that. And I'm just kind of shaping my eyebrows just a little bit. And this is just a dry, spoolie brush. Y'all are familiar with this brush. It's the one I reach for my eyebrows all the time. It's also the one I usually reach for if I'm going to, when I get ready to do my under eye liner. Now, with this foundation, I don't use any powder because it is a matte foundation and it sits really well on the skin, and I just don't feel like I need powder with it. So from here, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the eyeshadow palette from Lovecraft Beauty. And this is an absolutely gorgeous palette. I mean, I know there's no way you're going to get the full effect of how beautiful this palette is, but this is just an absolutely gorgeous palette. I swiped some of my mom's brushes because mine really need to be cleaned. So you'll have to excuse the fact that they're not the best brushes because she didn't have any of the better eyeshadow brushes from Ipsy right now. Most of her brushes are face type brushes for highlighter, bronzer, concealer, powder, foundation, stuff like that. So these are not the greatest brushes. And I may struggle somewhat with pronouncing some of these names because they are certainly different. So we're going to start out with this lightest shade here, which is, I believe, Tora, T-O-R-A-J-A. So based on the fact that English is one of the few languages that actually pronounces J as a different sound, I'm assuming it is Tora. And we're going to lay this down just as our crease shade. It's got kind of a grayish tone to it, it looks like. It's kind of not really a gray, but not really a tan either. It's very light. These shadows are very creamy in texture for powder. And I really, really like the texture of it so far. I mean, this is having only dipped into one shade, but I really, really do like the texture of it. Okay, so we've got that kind of laid down into our crease just a little bit. And it really only takes a little bit, and they spread out really, really nicely. Just a little bit more of that over here on this side. Like I said, we've got that laid down as our transition shade. I don't know if you can see this. I'm working on different placements for my camera to try to get better video quality, and I'm sure you can hear the sound of my fan humming in the background along with the potential of other background noises. Just overlook those, please. Of course, the house has been a bit chaotic. We've had people in and out coming to send their condolences, and I also apologize for the mirror reflecting light all over my face just then on this palette. But as I said, we've had people in and out, so it's been a bit chaotic for the last well, since yesterday, but it's okay. Okay, so next we're going to go into this one here, which is called Agni, I assume. It's a slightly darker tan, but still very light. And we're just going to bring that to the outer corner and lower part of the crease, focusing it primarily on the outer corner, just because it is a little bit darker, just to darken up that crease some. There we go. That is absolutely beautiful, and they blend together perfectly. They really do. I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but I think it is beautiful the way they blend together. Do the same thing over here on this side. Again, focusing primarily on that outer corner and bringing it in somewhat. all the way across the lower portion of the crease. There we go. Gorgeous. Okay. So, I forgot to get out one of my brushes, so you'll have to excuse me while I dig into my brush bag real quick. Okay, where is it? Okay, what I'm looking for specifically is the brush that I use for my underbrow highlight. I have one specific brush that I use for that most of the time, and it's this one. It was from the Ipsy Betty Boop collection. I really like how light and feathery it is and how well it applies that under eye highlight. And I'm going to go into the shade Pyra, which is this, sorry about that, lightest one up here at the top. I'm going to use that. It's got very light shimmer to it, just as my underbrow highlight. Bring that across all the way to the outer corner. Really like that. Like I said, it's got just the lightest little bit of a shimmer to it. And we will add some of this also to our inner corner after we get our lid shade done. And for the lid shade, I'm going to go into this absolutely gorgeous tone right here, which is called Pyrite. It is absolutely beautiful. It's got a nice metallic-y shimmer to it. We're going to go in with a dry brush on this, and we're just going to apply that directly to the lid. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's kind of a goldeny, greeny, just gorgeousness. Absolutely gorgeous color. I hope y'all can see that well enough. I'm going to go ahead and apply again with the dry brush over to the other lid. And then I think we might just wet this brush and see how it looks applied with a wet brush as well. Because I think that's just going to amplify the shine and the metalliciness of it and just make it absolutely gorgeous. I have a feeling it's going to make it almost like a foil when I get the brush dampened. Like I said, you don't want your brush too wet. You just want it slightly damp for that. Oh yeah. Okay. I need to bring that just a little bit further in down here. There we go. That is beautiful. And then we're going to take just a little bit of... This is the Miss Congeniality Rosewater Hydra Mist. This is what I usually use almost as a toner or setting spray, depending. And we're just going to spritz that brush a couple of times just to get it slightly damp. And we're going to go back into the shade Pyrite with this dampened brush. And go back over the lid just to see how it looks with a damp brush. And yeah, that is exactly what I thought was going to happen. It just gives it almost a foiled look. Almost like gold leaf. And it is beautiful. Okay. And before I do the other one, I just want to give y'all a look of side by side what it looks like wet and dry, so that you can see exactly what I mean. This is the dry one, this is the damp one. And like I said, I hope y'all can see the difference. I can't guarantee that my lighting is going to allow the difference to really show up as well on camera as I hope it will. But it is beautiful. Now we're going back in with the damp brush on the other eye. This is absolutely stunning. Okay. And like I said, I'm really loving the texture of this. I'm getting some fallout, but not a whole lot. I'm just going to go in with a big fluffy brush. This is my NYX Professional Makeup Brush in the number 2. Just to kind of brush away a little bit of the minimal fallout that I've got. I like to use a big fluffy brush for that because usually where the fallout is, it's right here along my cheekbone. And if it ends up blending in, it just adds a bit to my highlight. Which is perfectly okay with me. Okay. Now then we're going to go back in with the Betty Boop brush to the shade Pyra, which is the highlighter shade that we used for the brow bone. And we're going to take that into the inner corner just to brighten that up a little bit more even than what the foundation did, or the concealer did earlier. There we go. Again on the other eye. There we go. That is gorgeous. Alright, now then, back in with my dual-ended spoolie brush. I'm going to go into the shade Pyros, which is this coppery color here, and use it. After I make sure I've got all my blue off of here, because the last time I used this brush, it was a lot of blue. And I didn't even do my makeup yesterday. I didn't try at all to do my makeup yesterday because I knew it wasn't going to be a good day. And I knew that I was going to be crying a lot and it wasn't going to do any good to put any makeup on. Which is a big part of why I didn't even do the video yesterday like I was supposed to. And I do apologize for that. I hate letting people down when they're expecting a video and then they don't get one. But we're going into the shade Pyros. And we're going to do that just underneath the lower lash line. And bring that all the way across, inner corner and outer corner. And I like to do the inner corner or the outer corner first, and then come around to the inner corner and bring that into the middle from either side to meet. I just feel like I get a slightly better application when I do it that way. It tends to be a little bit more evenly spread. There we go. That is also absolutely gorgeous. It's like this perfect orangey coppery shade that just is beautiful. So far, I am really, really loving these Lovecraft Beauty products. I mean, all I've tried so far is the eyeshadow, of course, but so far, I'm very impressed with this eyeshadow palette. And I've used all but one shade in it. Okay, that is stunning. And you know what? I think instead of doing a separate eyeliner, I'm just going to go in with the Pyros and line my upper lid too. Start here, the outer corner, and bring that in to the lash line. Just at a nice little angle. I hope y'all can see that. Like I said, I know my lighting is not the best, and then I bring it around to the inner corner. And I hold my brush at a bit of an angle like this, so that it just comes straight across the top of the lash line when I'm using the eyeshadow to line my upper lashes, instead of using a wet liner product. But I really just want to apply this dry so the pyrite shade holds on to most of the attention grabbing on this one. Because that's really the star of this look, is the shade Pyrite. It is absolutely beautiful. And even the difference between using Pyros dry next to the wet Pyrite, they still stand out from each other just enough that you can tell they're two different shades, but neither one of them really overpowers the other, and they blend together absolutely beautifully. A lot of times, wet and dry shimmers don't blend together real well, and metallics and mattes never seem to blend real well, but these absolutely blended beautifully together. Like, the entire eye look has blended perfectly for the way I wanted it to be. Just go through and make sure I've got that upper line just how I want it. Just a little bit more over here on this side as well. There we go. Okay, and that is the eyeshadow look, if my camera will focus on my eyes, I hope, so that y'all can see that. And of course, I will have photos of this up on my Instagram not too long after this gets posted and goes live. Well, not live, but once this gets posted. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and take my Surfer Curl Tarte C mascara and apply just a bit of that. I reach for this mascara almost every day, and this again came from my mom's Ipsy. She has easily irritated eyes though, so she doesn't use stuff like mascara or eyeliner, either one, very often. So most of the time that ends up getting passed on to me anyway. And just get the other one. And again, I know I make weird faces. Oh, and I did get a new mirror. My mirror broke. The stand on it did. So I got a new mirror. I wish it was lighted, but it's not. But it stands up just a little bit taller than where my camera is. Stands up a little bit taller than where my other one did too, so I'm not having to pick it up every time I turn around to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, and then I'm going to dip back into here just to do my lower lashes. And I don't want to apply a whole lot of mascara to my lower lashes right now. But this mascara is also pretty waterproof, which is really good right now. And yes, I am trying to keep my focus primarily on the products because it's the safe thing to talk about here is the products. Slide that drawer back in where I had gotten out what I needed. Okay. So now I'm also going to go ahead and do swatches so you can see all of these colors. We're going to start with the Gold Pyros, which is going to be the first one on my wrist. And then we have Faunus, which is the darkest brown. And then we have Pyra, which is the shade that I used as my inner corner highlight. And there is those three. You can almost barely see Pyra. It's right here. But that's the highlight shade I used. Okay, and next we have Agni, Tora, and Pyrite. And even on the finger, these shades are just absolutely so creamy and just feel absolutely fantastic. And like I said, here are the other three shades, if you can see those. There we go. And then that is the full palette swatched on my arm. And of course I don't have makeup wipes. So I'm going to reach down here and grab out some of my cotton rounds. And I just used the cheap cotton rounds from the dollar store, I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to dampen one of these real quick with some Dickinson Witch Hazel toner. I do not actually use this most of the time as a toner. It tends to be more of a makeup removing type product if I've got something like swatches that I'm doing. Okay. And of course, that ended up smearing them all together. Because it's just one of those days, I think. Of course, now my arm is completely shimmery. And I want to try to get as much of that off as possible before I move on to the next one, because I will be swatching each of these palettes as I go through them. Toss that over there in my little bedside trash can. And yes, I did say bedside because I do record in my room. It's one of the few spaces that I have that is just mine. You'll see some stuff behind me. The two pictures here are pictures that my daughter colored. The picture in the frame is of my grandmother. The small picture inside of that is a picture of my grandmother and my brother. And then the small picture stuck behind that frame is a baby picture of my brother. And then up here behind me in a frame is a picture that I had colored for my brother. Down here is a picture that a friend of mine sent to me. And over here is a poster that I received from Pinsy's when they first released their flavor blend, Justice, which I need to reorder. Okay, so I've got most of that off. You can see there might still be a little bit of shimmer, but that's okay. Okay, so next we will be moving into the primer, or not primer, but the bronzer and contour palette. Here is this one. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to use this shade because my mom is quite a bit darker than me in skin tone. But we've got Cymbeline, Sunniva, and Aditya. And if I'm mispronouncing these, please let me know. Here's the first, second, and third. And yeah, just seeing these swatched on my wrist, I'm definitely going to have to go with this lightest shade here, which is fine. And I'm going to be using my, I have no idea what brand this is, but it's the BK32 angle brush, which is my go-to for applying my bronzer, my contour, stuff like that. And just very lightly dip that in there and just go right here. I've got a generally darker spot on my cheek where the cheekbone sits, and just blend that really well. It actually blends out perfectly. Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous. And it blends so easy. And again, these are such a creamy, soft formula, just like the eyeshadow. I mean, the formula as far as the texture of the powder is almost exactly the same as that of the eyeshadow, which is fantastic, and I hope it maintains that through all of their products. And just blend that in very well. Make sure those look about even. That is gorgeous. And take just a little bit of this, and I tap it across my forehead, and then I blend it in little soft circular motions across my forehead. And do not put a lot of pressure on the brush because you don't want to damage your bristles on your brush. Or fibers or hairs, whatever you choose to call them. Just do not put the pressure on your brush. If you need more product, you can add more product. And take just a little bit on the very edge of it and tap that gently along each side of my nose. And I use the little divots where my glasses sit as the indicator for where I contour my nose. I just go down the very sides just a little bit, very lightly. And that is beautiful. And I'm not even going to try to contour my jawline today. I don't really think it needs it that much. But that is the bronzer palette from Lovecraft Beauty. So next, we are going to move into the blush palette, and I've still got the bronzer swatches on my wrist. I'm going to do each of these together. Okay. Here is the blush palette. This off of here. And again, I apologize for any glare. Oops. I must have accidentally got my fingernail into that. These are some interesting shades. We've got Althea, Daphne, and Asalia. I'm assuming, again, I'm pronouncing those correctly. And we're going to do these just directly under. Okay, let me try that again because that did not show up very well. And it might be that they're just that much lighter. There we go. That's a little bit better. There we go. And that is these three here. Okay. Althea is the very, very light pink. Daphne is almost an orangey tone. And then Asalia is a slightly rosier shade. I think I'm going to go into Asalia. Now, I'm going to go very light-handed because they look much darker than I'm sure they are. But I'd rather go light-handed. Okay, that is a very, very powdery formula. That's just from a single swipe with my brush into this shade. So, you definitely want to be very, very light-handed. Just gently swirl that on. There we go. It's actually very pretty. And honestly, I'm just going to pick up the dust that had come off from where I had applied the first cheek. And just very gently just swirl that lightly onto the cheekbone area. And I do apply generally to the almost the center of my cheekbone with my blush because I mentioned that my mom is quite a bit darker than me. My mom is 1/4 Native American. She looks Native American. She is also 1/4 Irish. I look very Irish. One of the few Native American traits that I did pick up, I'm going to apply a little bit more of that because I love that color. I'm just gently tapping the side of my brush into blush and applying it very gently. But it is beautiful. One of the few Native American traits that I did pick up happens to be the very high cheekbones. So, yeah. That's the one thing she gave me from that particular side of my family. But that is the blush, and I think it is absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm going to swatch the highlight palette on the back of my wrist here. Okay, and this one has two shades. We have Aurora over here and Borealis here. Okay, let's go into Aurora, and again, just equally soft. Okay, Borealis has almost a slightly glitterier feel to it. Okay, that is Aurora, which is very pretty. And this is Borealis, which is a more golden tone. You know, I think with the eyeshadow that I used today, I'm going to go into Borealis. And it's got a slightly grittier feel to it, more of a, like, almost like it has little specks of glitter, but it's still very creamy and just very, very lightly across the top of the cheekbone and up towards the temple here. That is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if y'all can catch that, but that is catching the shine. I mean, of course, my face catches the shine. Anyway, but here we go. Over here on this side, like I said, I just go right across the top of the cheekbone and into the side of the temple beside the eye just a little bit. And that is stunning. Then I very gently tap into it, and for highlighting my nose, I just sweep my brush up and down till it barely touches my nose, and where it touches is where it highlights. That keeps me from over highlighting. And then I'm going to take my finger and apply just a little bit of it right here, just above the Cupid's bow on my lip. There we go. Just a little bit. Which you really can't even hardly see on camera, unfortunately, but that's okay. And that's got all of the Lovecraft Beauty products going through. So the last thing to do is the lips, which is the NARS Afterglow Lip Balm. And mine is in the shade Orgasm, it looks like. Okay. And it comes with just the little sample of the product. And it does come with a little doe foot applicator. I hate samples like this that you've practically got to rip open the whole packaging just to get to the product. But that's okay. And I am going to use the little applicator that came with it just because it's cute. I love little miniature type products and stuff. So this is just really, really super cute. It's super tiny. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's really super tiny, but it's adorable. And because of that, I'm going to use it. And it'll get added to my collection of brushes, because who doesn't need a super adorable little mini doe foot from time to time. And we're going to take, and again, this is just one of those little foil packet type products. Let's see if I can get my fingers to cooperate and get in between the foil and the plastic. Maybe. I hope so, because I really want to be able to try this. And like I said, I got this through one of the little sample ad things that Facebook runs from time to time. And it came in the mail today. So, hopefully, it'll be a good product. Okay. I do not have a whole lot coming off on the back of the foil. That's usually a good sign that it's a thicker product. And just go very gently in with this little doe foot applicator. Start with the very center of my bottom lip and just spread that out. Okay. So color-wise, this is almost like a sheer wash of just a little bit of a glossy color. Okay. Not much in the way of color payoff. I apologize, it's allergy season here and my nose seems to want to run a lot. I want a little bit thicker with this because I'm just not getting the color payoff that I was hoping for. The formula is great. It's super soft, super creamy, super rich. It feels really hydrating. It's not sticky at all. It's just a little bit more sheer than what I personally tend to reach for. It's also a bit more pink than what I tend to reach for most of the time. There we go. But, like I said, free sample. I did not get to choose my shade. It was chosen for me. So I'm not going to complain about it as far as the color itself goes, because like I said, I didn't personally pick it. It's not a color that I personally would pick, but the formula is great. It's, like I said, super rich, super creamy, very hydrating feeling. And if you prefer just a light wash of color, it's fantastic. And I think with the brightness of this eye look, it's better to have just a very light wash rather than something that's going to be in your face, bold. But overall, I'm very impressed by both the NARS Afterglow Lip Balm and the Lovecraft Beauty products that I have tried today. And again, thank you all for being here and listening to my videos, and any comments that you may leave, I appreciate, and just thank y'all for being my distraction for right now anyway. And that is everything for today, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!